Friday Night Live from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show as we enter game week 35 after a 3-week hiatus of no Premier League football. And as the thumbnail shows, he is getting back on track. 8 single game days in 3 weeks as the season running begins. Game week 35 is upon us. First game is tonight. And I've got to admit, it's been a bit of a rush this week. Been away for Easter, and it's the first week of the financial year at work, and it's a 4-day week, and I've been busy. So, bit of a rush to put this together today, but hopefully we shall go through some bits and pieces for everybody. Evening to those in the chat. Evening, John Boy. Not a great day in the old fancy cricket today, was it? Down at Essex for me. Hope you did better yourself. So let's have a look. We're going to go through fixture changes and some potential changes that we can see coming down the line. We have got a look at the team. We've got a look at the leaderboards and the show league. Few updates on stats and statistics. We'll have a look at the game week itself. Some changes to my team for Sunday this week. We'll have a look at the team news for tonight. We're not going to look back at last game week's match centres. If I did, it'd probably disturb me a little bit. And it's, as I say, best part 3 weeks ago when we were doing those. So let's have a look without further ado at the team. So in goal, Keller on the Sunday, mainly for tonight's game, in all fairness, was a captain with 4. So 70 points for the week, up to 2385, and as you can see, back into the top 100. Bit of a disaster, really, to be down that far, but let's see how we go. Where was I looking at on this? So this is the overall leaderboard. We see 10th place Melvin Paul's in the chat. Evening, Melvin, with his Melvinho 11 2518. Adam Campbell in 9th 147 Elite 2521. Jack Bones in 8th. Which leaderboard are we? Yeah, this is the right leaderboard I'm looking at. Yeah, Jack Bones in 8th, Pizza and Love 2524, Colin Johnston, Coles Lions 2526, Tim Barry in 6th, Can I Just Shock You 2528, Johnny Logan in the chat in 5th place 2538, FPL Vincenzo's Vinners, Craig Kemp 2551 in 4th, Ryan Welsh in 3rd with Arts and Crafts 2556. Gary Carter in 2nd with Get Carter 2557. And top of the shop with 2559. FPL Spaceman JC Johnny Curry with JC Milan. I'll just have a look. I think this is the one where I put the league up. Yeah, so this is the show league. Got 11th here, Martin Brown, Gary Rowell, World 11 2499, Adam Byram with Teddy Marlowe 2503, Tony Richardson, Albert's Chippy 2514, Melvin is at 8th in this league, Colin is 7th, Tim is 6th, John is 5th, FPL Vincenzo is 4th, Ryan, Gary and Johnny, all the top 3 are still top of the shop here. Well done. Dave Hannigan's in. Evening, Dave. So let's have a look and see what's happened with the fixtures. So this is the fixture layout, current games. And we can see where that yellow arrow is in game week 36. So fixtures now caused by the FA Cup semi-finalists have been confirmed. They are where we thought they were going to be. The only difference is some of the teams are different to what they thought. So moving forward now on to Tuesday the 21st is Brighton v Chelsea. Moving forward to Wednesday the 22nd are 2 games. There's Bournemouth versus Leeds and Burnley versus Manchester City. We were all expecting Arsenal to move forward, but Southampton beat them in the FA Cup, so their game against Newcastle remains on Saturday the 25th. There was some conjecture that game was going to move due to Arsenal ladies being in the Champions League the same weekend and UEFA determining whether away sides are allowed to train on the pitch at a certain time. It seems like that game is going to be played on Sunday, so I imagine that the training, I think it's against Lyon, will be sometime on the Saturday, well before Arsenal play Newcastle that evening, and maybe they'll do it afterwards, I don't know. But it seems that that game will stay in place on Saturday evening. A bit further on, we can see 2 blue arrows there. I'm going to come to that in the next slide. And then the red arrow at the right, fixture day currently 108. That is the still to be arranged postponed game for the EFL Cup final, Crystal Palace away to Man City. I still think it's going to be on Wednesday 13th of May, but until that's confirmed, it will be just hanging around there for now. So, this is fixture layout for game week 39, and this is the weeks after the UEFA semi-final midweeks, if that makes sense. So, the fixtures in blue are two teams who both won the first leg comfortably in their UEFA quarterfinals this week. Aston Villa in the Europa League, they won at Bologna 3-1. Excuse me. And Crystal Palace at home to Fiorentina won 3-0. So the chances are that both of those sides will qualify for the semi-finals. And if they do, their fixtures will move from Saturday 2nd of May to Sunday the 3rd. And from Saturday the 9th of May to Sunday the 10th. Bournemouth v Crystal Palace will probably be a 1 o'clock kickoff, the deadline game on the Sunday, because Manchester United is currently the only game fixture scheduled for the Sunday at 3:30. Aston Villa against Tottenham is the TNT game, currently scheduled for 12:30 on Saturday, and that will go to 7 o'clock on Sunday evening. That's already been announced if Villa qualify. And then the following week, I've just put them down, both games, Burnley v Aston Villa and Crystal Palace v Everton at 2 o'clock. Whether one of those gets moved to 7 o'clock could happen, depends on where and when the fixtures are played the previous Thursday. I think Palace will probably be away and Villa will probably be at home. So Palace maybe goes to 7 o'clock, but either way, they should be moved to the Sunday. So it looks like on game week 38 on Saturday, you're going to see teams from Brentford, West Ham, Newcastle, Brighton, Wolves v Sunderland. And then on Sunday, the 10th of May, we'll definitely see Nottingham Forest v Newcastle because that's already been scheduled. So even if Forest don't make their UEFA Cup semi-final, they're going to play on the Sunday on game week 39, and they're already scheduled to play away at Chelsea on Monday the 4th of May, even if they're playing the Europa League on the Thursday following. And I think that's why that match was put to 3 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock on that Monday. It's bank holiday in England, doesn't necessarily mean it's bank holiday everywhere else. So that's where we stand with those fixtures, to be confirmed, but I think that'll be fairly handy. So where does that leave us then with what we know up until sort of the gap, as it were. Well, let's have a look. These are teams' fixture counts. These are upcoming 3 and 4 for 2s from Sunday coming up till Saturday the 2nd of May. So if we have a look here, that's from fixture day 91 up until fixture day 102. And we have 2s with 2 fixtures, Bournemouth, Everton and Liverpool, and 3 teams with 4, Leeds, Newcastle and Sunderland, and everybody else with 3. So how many transfers have people got to play with these fixtures? Well, this is the current lay of the land. Overall 27.1, top 100 11.7, top 50 11.4, and top 10 13.9. Quite staggering really that the top 10 have got 2.5 more than the top 50 altogether. If I'd have had a bit more time, I'd have worked out an actual number for 11th to 50th. But I might do that next time round if it looks interesting. So with those fixture gains to be had, are there particular teams that we're going to be looking at? We'll have a look at my transfer possibilities for this week in a bit, but I think the likes of Newcastle, Leeds have got single game days coming up. The one that we're interested in is not till later on really, against Burnley. That's not until the first week of May. Hop on points though, you can do Monday coming away at Manchester United. Another one that might be tempting is Bournemouth away on the rearranged game. Depends on who you're coming off. If you're coming off somebody that's not got a fixture after then. And then the actual day itself is the Friday, so maybe this Wednesday is a better bet. So let's have a look at some stats. So I have got up, because my Excel was playing up today, so I've got this on the Google Sheets planner, and I have filtered the data as we did last time round having a look at this. I've gone back here to game week 23, which was just after the FA Cup third round up till now, and I thought what we'd do would have a look at this by position. So I've put it first down on strikers, and we'll have a look at the table. And we can see here top of the shop is João Pedro, closely followed by Gyökeres, then Raul, Bowen, Cunha, Ekitike, Beto, Sesko. If we have a look at the points per 90, there's a couple here sticking their nose up above the parapet. Beto at 10.56 and Sesko at 13.56. If these guys can get themselves into their respective starting lineups, we might see some more overall points from both of them. Now if we have a look at the tier points, so Raul is top of the tiers, few tackles, mainly shots, no surprise it's strikers. João Pedro is second, Cunha third, Ollie Watkins fourth, Solanke fifth, Sesko in sixth, and all of his are shot points. And if we have a look at the ownership, so we see here Thiago at the top, 96% owned. Bowen second at 69. This is in the top 100. Ekitike 49. Haaland down to 16. João Pedro at 9. Then everybody else single figures. And we have a look at the same. I'm going to move this to midfielders, and then we'll see these change. So Fernandes, Palmer and Casemiro at the top. We'll have a look at the points. So Fernandes, Palmer, Casemiro, Semenyo, Enzo, who is going to miss the next game and then might be back, Harry Wilson, Gordon, Szoboszlai and Morgan Gibbs-White, and Rodri as he's known to everybody else. So here on the ownership, this is points per 90. So Bruno 7.61. Somerville, currently injured. He's on 6.9, poking his nose up above. Semenyo as well, 7.18. Bit further down the line, Diogo Gomez, 6.23. If we have a look at the tier points, Casemiro at the top. So he's on tackles, passes and saves. Rodri second best, then Garner, Caicedo and Enzo. And we look at that ownership. So Fernandes at the top, 95% owned. Next best Wilson at 53. Rodgers 43. Szoboszlai, surprisingly, but he's done okay, 39. Gibbs White 31. Semenyo 30. And Enzo 25 alongside Gordon and Anderson. Everybody else 10 and below. And I'll move this now to defenders. So Virgil at the top. Gabriel second. Strange name there in the third. Justin. James Justin from Leeds. Timber, who might or might not be injured for Arsenal. Saliba. Truffert, another one that I wouldn't have expected to see up there. Neco Williams, Forrest have done well. Senesi, Gahey and Hill. So we've got quite a lot of lower level engagement there with Leeds, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest. Ampadu's next best, Leeds again, Aina, Forest again, and then Bueno from Wolves. So the underrated players, or underrated players from underrated teams doing well so far. So this is on points per 90, a flatter line than we've seen in the others. So Saliba, Neco Williams, Gahey, and then we've got Aït-Nouri, Hincapie and Lacroix are the ones that are poking above. Tier points. So Virgil at the top here. He's got a mixture of passes and shots. Senesi, mainly passes, a few tackles and shots. Gahey, Justin, Ampadu, Malik Chow. Gabriel still there, Aït-Nouri, Dunku suspended for the next couple. And if we have a look at the ownerships, so top of the shop is Virgil, 81, Gabriel, 54, Gahey 31, Timber 23, Konate 18, still stinking out my side unfortunately. Chalobah 12, who's injured, he'll be being moved on from everybody else. And then the rest are 10% and below. And then finally for goalkeepers, top of the shop Petrovic, and then Raya joint equal. Pickford in third, Hermanson in fourth, Emilio Martinez in fifth, Darlow sixth, Donnarumma seventh, Sells and Sarr in joint seventh, I think that is. Points per million. Again, tricky with keepers because we've got 25 on the list and they're not all getting a game. And nobody really that's playing regularly is getting above their points average. The best there is Sells. Tier points is all going to be saves. Well, some passing there for Sanchez and Pickford, surprisingly. But yeah, mainly save points there. And ownerships. So top is Kelleher 47, Raya 32, and then everybody else is less than 5. So a few people there to look at when it comes to moving these players around. I think some of the high ownership players, if I put this back and I put all of these guys in now, so we put keeper in here, defender back in this one, midfielders in here, and strikers in the bottom. We'll have a quick look at overall. So overall points, Fernandes and João Pedro at the top. Looking more at the tier points. Casemiro, Rodri, Garner, Caicedo, Enzo, Elliot Anderson, Matheus Fernandes. So all of these midfielder guys at the top now. Then on ownerships, Thiago at the top, 96. Bruno Fernandes, 95. Virgil, 81. Bowen, 69. Gabriel, 54. Wilson, 53. So 6 players above 50%. And then above a third, we've got Ekitike, Kelleher, Rogers and Szoboszlai. Above a quarter, Raya, Gibbs-White, Gahey, Semenyo. Enzo's just on a quarter alongside Gordon. And then those above 10 are Timber, Anderson, Konate, Haaland, Chalobah, Sarr, Hall and Matheus Nunes, with João Pedro just underneath at 9%. So there's plenty of scope here for people to be making a gain, but same as everything else, we need to be picking the right players. So let's have a look and see who we might be bringing in this week. Oh, before we do that, let's have a look at the team of the last week. So this is a reminder of who did well last time round. So up top, Beto and Welbeck. 5 in midfield. Bruno Fernandes. King, is it Josh King, I think, of Fulham. Harry Wilson, Undai and Talby. Neco Williams, Ampadu and Pau Torres, with Pickford in goal. And then for the last 6 game weeks, Beto and Welbeck up front with João Pedro. Bruno Fernandes keeps his place. He's joined in midfield by Gordon, Casemiro and Gibbs-White. Ampadu keeps his place, joined at the back by Senesi and Timber. And this time round it's Petrovic in goal. So let's have a look at goals and clean sheets for this week. So Friday night game, first up is Wolves visiting West Ham. So West Ham's predicted 1.66 goals and a clean sheet percentage of 34, so just about a third. Wolves just over a goal at 1.08 and 19%. So those 69% of the top 100 that bought Bowen, they're going to be happy with the captain. Let's hope that he can actually get some points. I don't think he'll be hanging around much longer. If West Ham would have won in the FA Cup and their fixture was brought forward alongside those we talked about earlier, I think he could have hung around in teams a bit longer. But as it is, I think he'll be moving on, probably for somebody that is moving into one of those fixtures in that midweek. Tomorrow's lunchtime game, Arsenal against Bournemouth. Arsenal 2.15 and a 39% chance of a clean sheet. Bournemouth 0.94 and 12%. I personally think the best side in the country at the minute. Did well in Europe as well. A late winner to set up a probable meeting with Atletico Madrid in the Champions League semi-finals. Early kickoff. Could be a bit of pressure on. I think they'll probably win. I'm not convinced that they're going to go mad. 2.15 as against 0.94. 2-1 is probably a good prediction. Although the chance of Bournemouth scoring may be slightly less because it is Arsenal. But again, depends on which Arsenal team comes out. They play on Wednesday next week. They've got the Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday with the Champions League. So a bit extra rest for them. 3 o'clock, Brentford v Everton. Brentford are 1.44 and 31%. Everton 1.17 and 24%. I think the only players really heavily owned here for Brentford are Kelleher and Thiago. Not too much about Everton. A few with Garner. Burnley against Brighton. It's another 3 o'clock. Burnley 1.07 and 17%. Brighton 1.8 and 34%. Van Heck was popular earlier, seems to be less so now. But he could be a good one with passing and a clean sheet there against Burnley. Tea time kickoff is Liverpool against Fulham. Liverpool are 2.1 and 32%, and Fulham are 1.14 and 12%. Again, I think those odds are probably higher in favour of Liverpool than I would give it. They've got the Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday in the Champions League. They 2-0 behind. Obviously got to try to repeat what happened against Barcelona, what's that, 7 seasons ago now? They overcame a 3-0 deficit in the first leg to go through, and that was when away goals were a thing. I don't think this current iteration of the Liverpool side is going to do that against PSG, but they've got to give it a go. I think it could be, as we saw in the previous graphic, Liverpool are one of those sides giving away fixtures in the 3 and 4 for 2s. It could be at last legs of a few Liverpool players in cloud. Sunday kickoffs. Forest against Aston Villa. Meeting in what could be a potential Europa League semi-final. Forest are 1.3, so are Villa 1.3, and 27% chance each. That looks like it's got 1-1 written all over it, according to those odds. I think maybe both sides be happy with a draw. Forest to get an extra point that they might not expect. Villa could gain a point over somebody like Chelsea with a draw this week. Both have played in midweek. Both played in midweek again. So, yeah, could be a 1-1 is a good prediction. Crystal Palace against Newcastle. Palace are 1.38 and 22%. Newcastle 1.51 and 25%. Palace are one of the teams in the league who have nothing really to play for. They're not going to go down. They're very unlikely to reach even a European place if it goes down to 11th in the Premier League. I don't think we're down that far, but even that's probably too much for Palace. So Newcastle, I think, have got a fair chance of a win there. They're a better side when they're only playing once a week. Eddie Howe's been that type of manager most of his career, from what I know. I know he hasn't had too many chances to play twice a week in high competition, but he hasn't done much with it with Newcastle when he has. Sunderland against Tottenham. De Zerbi in charge of his first game for Tottenham at Sunderland. It's good we didn't play up there earlier in the season when it was a right fortress, but they've lost a few up there now. Another side not going to go down, probably aren't going to qualify for Europe. Can Tottenham get back on track? Be interesting watch, because their game against Leeds on a single game day later in the season, we're going to want somebody from one of those clubs, you would suggest. So 1.32 26 and 1.34 27. That does look like one each as well. Let's see how it pans out. The Super Sunday games, Chelsea against Manchester City. City on the back of 2 big cup wins over Arsenal and Liverpool in the domestic cups, one in a final, one in a quarter-final. Chelsea a little bit all at sea, but did manage to put 7 past Port Vale, who are a struggling Division 1 side, or a League 1 side as they call it these days. Chelsea are 1.48 and 17%. Manchester City 1.77 and 23%. Looks like it's going to be a goal-laden game. Those that have played their wild card in FPL this week will be hoping it is a goal-laden game, I imagine. Opportunity to bring Chelsea and City players in this week, with them playing on the Sunday and then playing in the midweek that we saw earlier. Then Monday Night Football, Manchester United 1.93, 36% against Leeds, 1.03 and 14%. Those 95% of managers with Bruno Fernandes will be hoping he does the business. Right, let's have a quick look at my team. This is the only bit I could get to save on Excel today. So, team Kelleher, Fernandes, Gibbs-White, Gahey, Bowen, Gabriel, Wilson, Konate, Semenyo, Thiago, Ekitike. Obviously not in formation order. That's just how this spreadsheet team works. So I am looking. Let's have a look. So Arsenal v Bournemouth, Brentford v Everton, Burnley v Brighton and Liverpool v Fulham. I need to pick a captain out of those. I'm not convinced that Ekitike is going to start. So for me, Everton have been good away. I think we're going to see the lineup for Arsenal. I imagine I might well be captaining Gabriel and hoping for a clean sheet. On Sunday, it looks like I'm making a couple of moves. Harry Wilson to Anthony Gordon. As I suggested, Newcastle have got good fixtures coming up. Once a week playing. Hop on point is there. Gordon is on pens. Playing through the middle. They play away to Palace. They say 3 o'clock. There should be 2 o'clock. And then the other move is Ekitike to João Pedro. Now, that might not seem highly advantageous for João Pedro to be playing against Manchester City, but when we look at the fixture count, we got it on here. Yeah, so this is Chelsea. So the hop on point there is for Manchester City at home. Then they play Manchester United next week. And then they've got that rearranged game against Brighton on the Tuesday. So if you want to be moving a Chelsea player in, that's the week to do it. You might notice that I haven't brought in a Manchester City player like Haaland. There's a reason for that. So, need a captain there. Who have we got? Gibbs White against Villa, I don't think so. Gahey against Chelsea, I don't think so. Gordon away at Palace. Or João Pedro at home to Manchester City. I think it might be Gordon captain. And then on Monday, it's Gibbs White. Sorry, it's Bruno. What is that doing there? That's better. Yeah, so Monday, Bruno Fernandes at home to Leeds. And if we have a quick peek through to next week, you'll see Bowen is captain for me on Monday. And then Erling Haaland comes back into the side on that rearranged game against Burnley on the Wednesday. And he will take the armband. And that, peeps, is just about it, I think. So next week, we'll be back on the 17th. And we are going to look forward to Game Week 36, which is 5 games on the Saturday, 4 on the Sunday. And then we've got 1 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, with these rearranged FA Cup semi-final matches. Right. Well, if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Let you get off, get a drink, get settled in for West Ham v Wolves. As Cloud FF gets back on track, we will see you for more of the same next week. Cheers, everybody. Bye for now.